Welcome to Game of the Week. This week's game is Columns 2 for the Sega Ages collection on the Nintendo Switch. Play this game! Watch out, Tetris 99. Sega Ages is at it again with Columns 2. Now, Columns 2 is one of those special arcade games that has a wonderful place in my heart, even despite playing it for the first time today. And that's because it's Columns, for crying out loud, the greatest puzzle-solving game of all time. But this version of Columns 2, of course being the best version of it because of Sega Ages, because everything from Sega Ages is the definitive version of these wonderful classics, has a bunch of fantastic goodies. And these goodies include its standard arcade mode, as usual for the game, and of course the special modes of the game. You have the ability for level select so you can play all the levels, and including the Skull Smash mode, which removes the skulls that appear when you play Columns 2, making the game a little bit easier, but honestly I would play it normally. And then you have Infinite Jewels, which is kind of like a speedier version of the first Columns. And speaking of the first Columns, this port of Columns 2 comes with the original Columns. Already, this Sega Ages game has become significantly better because it includes Columns 1. And I already talked about a little bit about Columns 1 in a previous Game of the Week. So if you haven't watched that, go watch that right now. And if you have, then you should know that I already love Columns more than any other puzzle game. But that's not all. Of course, you have your online matchmaking, and you have a jewel case. Now, what's so special about the jewel case? As you complete every single stage, you get to see certain Sega characters that show up in the middle of the intro sequence. And you'll get to see all of them as you complete certain numbers of stages of Columns 2. But of course, you have infinite lives, since you can just pop those quarters in one after another, digitally of course, without actually paying for anything. So why not give it a try? So Columns 2 is kind of unique in the fact that when you compare it to the original Columns, it's a very different experience. The first Columns was just a simple puzzle game mechanic. Columns 2 takes a whole little new spin, giving you different environments. And it's not just the jewels you'll be seeing. You'll be seeing very intricate sprites depending on your voyage through time. That is the subtitle of the game after all. So you'll see different objects that will act as the jewels that you normally pair together in Columns. But depending on the music and the new environment that shows up, it changes shape. In this version of Columns, as you go through the arcade mode, it's not about this endless mode that you would normally get, which that's what Infinite Jewels kind of is. Instead, you have to get rid of the flashing little jewel. And sometimes you have certain death marks that appear, the little skull smash things. And if you accidentally get rid of one of those, it makes the game even harder by taking a portion of the screen away, meaning you have less space to work with. But the whole point is that you have to get rid of all the flashing jewels, and once you do that, you finish the level and move on to the next one. Quite simple, if I do say so myself. And if you already beat a certain few levels beforehand, instead of using the save state feature, if you feel like that's cheating, you could just do level select, or start all over from the very beginning, you crazy mad person you. But in all, I think this is by far one of the nicest Columns compilations I could have ever asked for, because not only does it give you the challenges of Column 2, but it even gives you the original Columns, if that doesn't tickle your fancy enough. And to have both 1 and 2 in the same package from Sega Ages, well, it's fantastic. There really isn't anything that special to note about the first Columns, it's just basically the arcade mode of the very first Columns, so there really isn't much to say about it. I mean, it's great that you at least get Columns out of it. It's better than nothing. It's just a nice little bonus they added on. But with that being said, I look forward to the next Sega Ages game. And that was Columns 2, your Game of the Week. Be sure to tune in for the next Game of the Week. And until then, play Columns 2. And I'll see you then in another video.